On a sunny day with strong winds, the curtains flutter in a room, startling a young boy awake. He stands in shock, peering out the window at the vast city and the castle beyond, questioning if he's inside the game he used to play, finding it hard to believe. Recalling events from 3 years ago, the boy was a regular game character in heroic legend of Arhan. He describes the game's various dangerous incidents at the academy, including hints of the end of the world. Despite the ominous events, the boy maintains a cheerful demeanor, mentioning that it's all good because the main character handles everything in the game, considering himself an extra in the game. He mentions being just an NPC in the beginner quest, confident that if the story follows the game's path, everything will be fine. With newfound determination, the boy, introduced as Korenlock, ventures outside, exchanging pleasantries with Dennis. He decides to locate the game's main character, Park Sihu, destined for fame and fortune. Koren sets out to find the starting point in the game and soon spots Park sitting and muttering about sweet potatoes and Sprite. Koren wonders about Park mentioning Sprite, a detail that seems out of place in the game. He questions who Park really is and what might be going on. Park declares his determination to live for himself, a sentiment echoed by Koren. Both recognize their status as ordinary individuals thrust into game avatars, with Park having a unique advantage of his stat window despite never playing the game before. Koren, experienced in the heroic legend of Arhan, pledges to guide him. Koren advises Park on investing in intelligence stats for a mage role and mentions a crucial skill book in the next story. Their teamwork is tested when a monster appears behind Koren, but Park swiftly protects him with a spell. After dealing with the threat, Koren and Park join forces, forming a confident partnership. With Koren's game knowledge and Park's stat window, they aim to save lives, prevent the world's end, and find a way back to Earth. Resting after vanquishing a monster, Park offers Koren an elixir. Koren, noticing Park's disdainful look, raises questions about the elixir's nature, leaving an air of uncertainty. Koren reflects on the disappointment of everyone being male in the game, despite its fantasy, diverse heroines, and dating simulator features. Park's avoidance of romance and an all-male party raises Koren's suspicion, especially as deviations in the game's plot become evident. The Sword Emperor's grandmother's death and the disappearance of the first stage boss, Mariette, signal a departure from the original story. Concerns grow as Park reveals his true personality and Koren realizes that missing heroines like Mariette had items in a mysterious inventory. Park's nighttime activities lead Koren to a hidden place, resembling a secret inventory. The vanished Ragakchi, linked to another missing character, Alicia, raises alarms. Koren discovers Mariette imprisoned, chained in a tube. Startled, Koren finds Park behind him, who casually admits Mariette is a demon, just a tool for efficiency. Koren's gaze falls upon a device extracting elixir from Mariette's body, and Park casually mentions that Koren has had his fair share of that elixir too. Koren's stomach churns and he feels nauseated, prompting him to kneel on the ground. Frustrated, Park asks about Koren's condition, and Koren demands an explanation. Park explains that it's for efficient story progression, criticizing Koren's approach of trying to save everyone. He points out the losses suffered by sparing bothersome individuals and emphasizes his efficient strategy, claiming superiority in the game. Feeling betrayed, Koren confronts Park about his deception, expressing anger and questioning the number of people Park has killed. Park callously admits uncertainty about the count, adding that 3 more would make it 100,000. Angered, Koren grabs Park, calling him a monster. Park, in a cold tone, insists they're all NPCs and Koren has also killed. Koren defends his actions, asserting that those he killed were evil and attempting to end the world. The tension peaks as Koren confronts Park about the elixir farm, slamming him against a wall. Park's menacing smile infuriates Koren, accusing him of sociopathic tendencies. Park retaliates by throwing Koren against the glass, claiming he's driving him insane and expressing a desire to be everything for Koren. Bewildered by Park's abrupt change, Koren steps back, questioning the inconsistency in their 199 chapters together. Park defends his actions, removing obstacles for their future, and Koren accuses him, leading to a punch. In a panic, Koren attempts to escape, but a magic vine ensnares him. Tearful and terrified, Koren realizes he's at Park's mercy. With an ominous tone, Park vows to trap him forever, declaring, "You're mine." Bound in a magical chain, Koren is encircled as Park leers at him with lust. Claiming Koren is the only real thing in the fake world, Park casts a purple magic circle, promising they'll be together forever. Disturbed, Koren shouts, calling Park an insane bastard. Suddenly, Koren snaps back to reality, overhearing people talk about the hero Park. Reflecting on Park always fighting alone and facing the final boss, anxiety fills him about what happens after the boss is defeated. A system message announces the player's death and challenge failure. Koren wonders if Park lost again. Awakening to the morning sun, Korin sits on his bed looking out at tall houses in an academy. Realizing he's 3 years in the past to his arrival, he tightly grips his hand, whispers that he needs to kill Park, and tears well up in his eyes. The haunting memory of the Roshan River flooding, especially during the water monster subjugation quest, lingers in Korin's mind. Park's unsettling reaction to the tragedy, grinning and finding it awesome, reveals his profit-driven mindset, monopolizing experience points. Korin views him as a devil and feels an urgent need to intervene. Currently ranked 5 like Korin, Park's power is set to grow significantly upon entering Merkaba Academy. With the entrance ceremony in 5 days, the only chance to stop Park is now. Recognizing the urgency, Korin sprints to collect the necessary items for his mission to kill the hero. Meanwhile, in a tutorial quest, a carriage heading to Merkaba City breaks down in a monster-infested forest. The mission is to safeguard passengers until the carriage is repaired. Leon and Laura, grateful for Park's assistance, catch a horned rabbit. An elderly man announces the carriage's repairs, suggesting they continue, but Laura wants to rest. Just before departure, a massive log hurtles towards them, prompting Leon to protect Laura, and Korin arrives too late, regretting his inability to prevent the tragedy. The werewolf attacks, Laura falls unconscious, and Leon urges Park to board the carriage while he buys time. Despite Park's intention to help, Alicia holds him back. Park protests but runs away, reaching the scene too late as Leon has already been defeated. However, he calmly gazes at the monster, awaiting its next move. Observing closely, Korin contemplates whether Park is the destined hero or a possessed player like him. As the werewolf approaches, Park's demeanor suddenly changes and he smiles at its size. Alicia warns everyone to get down, swinging her sword at the creature. However, the werewolf effortlessly blocks her attack, and Park, with sinister intentions, discreetly draws a knife. Alicia, unaware, declares her intent to handle the situation as the second daughter of the Arden family and the possessor of the Odachi, one of the 6 King's swords. Park feigns fear, but as Alicia glances back, she sees him about to stab her in the back. Korin realizes the existence of Easter eggs like Alicia Arden's death event, confirming Park's true nature. Evading the attack, Alicia is scratched and poisoned. The werewolf growls for another attack, and despite the poison, Alicia bravely defends herself. Korin considers that if Alicia dies, he could acquire the Odachi, noting her resilience, possibly due to being a named NPC. Alicia creates space between her and the monster, focusing on utilizing impeccable footwork. As the werewolf prepares to attack, her sword brims with aura. Park, realizing she might defeat the werewolf alone, throws a dagger to disrupt her. Alicia chooses to block the dagger with her sword rather than finishing the werewolf. Despite killing the creature, she ends up covered in blood and nearly unconscious. Seizing Alicia's sword, Park expresses excitement over acquiring the Odachi, contemplating gaining experience points by killing the NPC. Tears well up in Alicia's eyes as she looks at Park, battered and blood-soaked. Amidst the tension, a distraction occurs as a bag of powder explodes in Park's face. A group of one-horned rabbits, drawn to the powder-coated mushrooms, appears. In the chaos, Korin seizes the opportunity, pulling Alicia away from danger and expressing relief that she's alive. Noticing the wolf's fang, Korin extracts it with a knife just as Park, now wielding the Odachi, confronts him. Calmly acknowledging his achievements, Korin stands up, revealing his identity. Park is taken aback, realizing, "You are Korin Locke." Assuming a combat stance, Park questions Korin's presence, who contemplates the advantage of Park potentially losing his memories. Taunting Park nonchalantly, Korin threatens to cut off his hand and seizes the moment to throw remaining powder at Park's face. Impaired vision leads Park to swing his sword blindly, but Korin recognizes his physical superiority. Armed with the werewolf fang, Korin skillfully avoids Park's slashes, targeting his neck. Despite surviving the initial attack, Park falls to a series of strikes with the werewolf fang, strategically wielded to divert his attention. Seizing the opportunity, Korin stabs Park in the shoulder, positioning himself above him and driving the fang towards Park's neck. Despite resistance, Korin's strength prevails, resulting in Park's death. Korin expresses gratitude for the past life, acknowledging that he can become stronger. He has no regrets despite killing the monster's seed. A system error message appears, indicating that the player is dead. The system begins calculating the odds of clearing the main scenario and recommends the first best judgment or backup. The system examines Korin's potential ideology compatibility and the player log. It then passes the previous player's experience down to Korin Locke, making him the hero and granting him minimal backup in case of a scenario collapse and minimal stats. With this succession, Korin is bestowed with the title of AAA Class Knight, Martial Master Successor Subplayer. As Korin looks at the announcement about being a subplayer, he wonders if it means he will finally get a stat window. However, his thoughts are interrupted by a cough behind him. It's Alicia, huffing and struggling. Corin rushes to Alicia, concerned about her well-being. Alicia admits she's not okay, listing symptoms like dizziness, loss of smell, and ringing ears. Corin, observing her condition, identifies it as the peacock tree frog's poison. Fortunately, Alicia's combination level isn't high enough for immediate danger. Corin acts swiftly, using his belt as a tourniquet to stop the bleeding and detoxify her. Comforting her, he reassures her, mentioning that he is skilled at stopping bleeding and detoxification. Worried about the possibility of Alicia biting her tongue, he improvises a solution by putting Park's arm in her mouth, instructing her to bite down. Corin then removes his clothes, wraps them around Alicia's waist, and extracts the fang, causing her pain. Pondering the reason for his time travel, Corin shifts focus to the present. After saving a life, he contemplates his actions' significance, preparing an antidote and reassuring Alicia. When she asks for his name, Corin deflects, placing a wet towel on her forehead. Drawing a magic circle, he reflects on the hero's role in the heroic legend of Arhan's story. Despite system errors, Corin is determined to fulfill his hero role, relying on 3 years of preparation. Seeking survival, Corin draws ancient letters, the runes of the 3 commandments: duty, restraint, and oath. He inscribes the duty rune on his arm with blood, making promises not to ignore good people's misfortunes. As smoke emanates, he commits to the commandment of duty. The system acknowledges, stating his status will rise upon quest completion, with a penalty for failure. Corin continues his ritual by biting his finger again, drawing another ancient rune, this time the restraint rune on his right shoulder. He declares, "Restraint, I do not perceive spirits." The system acknowledges it, transforming the commandment into "I do not perceive spirits." This commandment shields Corin from astral beings but increases vulnerability to physical ones. A system warning indicates 600% damage upon disobedience. The system activates the restraint rune, safeguarding against astral beings and elevating the hit ratio against physical beings. Corin completes the process by connecting the final ancient letter on his chest, symbolizing the oath rune. Recognizing the risk, he remains confident, determined to save the world. With that, the commandments are complete. A system message warns that the commandments now apply to the sub-player, emphasizing that failure to uphold the oath will lead to inevitable death.